What you are listening to is real. The participants are not actors. They are actual litigants with a case pending in the squared circle. Both parties have agreed to dismiss their cases and have their disputes settled here in our forum, the Turnbuckle Debate.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Turnbuckle Debate. My name is Sneed.
I'm Chad.
I'm Colton.
And our guest returning with us, boy, it's been a little bit, man. We got Jordan Wells. What's going on, man?
What's up, guys? I'm happy to be back. Yeah, it's been a while, but we're gonna bring it just like I was just here last week. So
that's what I like to hear, man.
Dude, I'm really enjoying the Pod Warriors with you and Seth. Great. If you guys aren't listening to Chick Foley, it's on their feed. You guys throw out Pod Warriors episodes every so often, and man, they're always good. They're always entertaining. That Bret Hart deep dive was intense. I told Seth that the Royal Rumble one was a really good one too, that I was nerding out on.
Yeah, dude. The Bret Hart one was by far the longest one we've recorded. It was almost 4 hours. If you guys haven't listened to it, Seth is obviously a huge Bret Hart mark, so we went full in on Bret Hart's WWF pay-per-view career. So yeah, if you guys aren't listening already, just go to the Chick Foley feed. If you're not listening to Chick Foley already, I don't know what you're doing, but yeah, we try to release. That's why ours are not like every other week, because we try to make it meaningful when we do one. So yeah, they're deep dive. It's me and Seth. I mean, we're basically best friends, so it's really easy to do. And yeah, we just go all in on every topic. Another good one. I can still remember driving in the car. I worked out of town, and I listened to the one you guys did on the wrestling video game episode. That dude, it was like a blast from the past, because every game you guys were talking about. Especially all the N64 games, man, I was living through you guys in that episode. That was honestly probably one of the easiest episodes we ever did. When we brought it up, it's so easy to do because we all played those games when we were younger. So it was easy to burn through whatever it was, an hour and a half or whatever. So yeah, they're fun to do. And yeah, like I said, it's just easy for us because, I mean, it's just two best friends talking about wrestling. So that's awesome.
Yeah, it's easy when you already have that connection, man. It's so, and it comes across too.
Yeah, definitely.
When you're listening.
Yeah, and that's kind of the feedback we get from everybody. So, I mean, that's how it's supposed to come across. So I'm glad everybody gets the same feedback as we're trying to put across. So
yeah,
that's awesome, man. Well, we have 3 new topics to debate. We got Colton filling in for Tom. Tom's not here this week. But if you guys are ready to get into it, man, you guys want to do it?
Let's do it.
Let's go.
All right. First topic of the evening. More important title, the WWE US Championship or the AEW International Title?
I'll go. I'll start. I think right now, I guess we have to define banger matches, and he's almost every week having a title match. So I'm going to say the AEW International, aka FKA All Atlantic title, but I'm going to say that title is more important for me.
Yeah, I gotta agree, man. And I'm a little salty about the name change still. I was a big fan of the All Atlantic title. I mean, International's fine. It's a little too close to the Intercontinental title in name for me. But I mean, I love the IC title too. So I mean, it's really not a whole lot to bitch about. But yeah, I just think it's the AEW International title's kind of taken the role that I thought the TNT title would take, where it's, it seems like almost every week it's defended on TV, which is great. I mean, the more it's defended, I feel like the more prestigious of a reputation it gets. And I just think right now, overall, AEW is just doing better storytelling with Orange having the belt than WWE is necessarily with Austin Theory in the US title. So that's nothing against the U.S. title. It's a cool championship. I like this belt redesign, better than the old like the red, white, and blue flag print on the other one. But yeah, for me right now, I think the international title is definitely the more important one.
I guess, like, lineage-wise, obviously this is not even a question.
Right.
Right.
I guess it just comes down to how this title is used. Like, I am not an Austin Theory fan, so that plays a big part in this for me. It's obviously not used well. We've gone. I think everybody's talked about the way WWE uses their secondary titles, and it's just not. They don't use them correctly. International title feels like a big deal. Like, Orange is defending it, like you guys said, every week. I mean, we're getting good matches out of this belt. The U.S. title, I mean, for me, it's just kind of there, it's not really like doing anything great for me. Still a cool title. It's a really historic title. It's just right now I just don't feel like they use it enough. I think that's the biggest thing for me is the usage rate as opposed to the international title is just it's night and day for me. So I'm going to go international title as well. But like I said, this is not like a hit on the US title. It's more of the way WWE uses it to me.
Yeah, I agree. I think if we're going lineage, of course, the U.S. Championship. But I'm going AEW International. And one of the main things for me that I thought about when thinking about this question was AEW is getting ready to go international. They've not been in any international they've not had any international shows. So I think this title is going to be important for them to hopefully showcase that to international talent overseas when they go and have those shows. But I also think Orange is doing a great job with it right now. I mean, it's so much fun. He's defending it every week, and it's a lot of fun watching him defend it.
I love that it's not like, I guess the reason I didn't put it up against this question up against the IC title, maybe I should have, but I think Gunther is in a really good run right now. Yeah. Like, Gunther is actually bringing prestige back to IC, but the only thing with Gunther is like, he's kind of in like a dominant run. Like, the matches with Sheamus and Drew were definitely more competitive. Like, you were kind of wondering, like, man, are they going to finally make Sheamus a champion with that title? So there was a little bit of that, but like, the thing I love about the Orange run is he's coming out of every one of these matches like beat up, like he's in a fight. Like, you think he could lose every time. He's coming out and every time he's nursing an injury. So it's like we're seeing this guy who from the beginning has had this critique by the naysayers. Oh, he's a small guy. That's what's wrong with AEW is they have these little guys I can't buy into. And Orange is kind of taken that and spun it on its head and made it mean something. Like, I think he's one of the more entertaining gimmicks and entertaining performers in pro wrestling right now. He has one of the most entertaining gimmicks, one of the most original gimmicks in pro wrestling, and he's totally bought into it. And I think that brings a lot to this title run.
Yeah, Chad, I like what you said about how in his defenses, like it always seems like he might be right there losing it. Like they've been some of my favorite matches, period, from any promotion for the last few months, especially last week's against Buddy Matthews. Like that match, and like I was happy with the result. I'm like, man, it would be really fucking cool to see it put on Buddy too, especially with they've already got a lot of shine with the trios titles right now. But man, that match was just I've been thinking about it all week. It was incredible. They're just doing. I'm really, really impressed with how they're booking this belt, and it's really not that Orange needed it because he's over as it fucking gets with the crowd, but like it's really developing him as a wrestler, for at least for me. Like I don't think of him as much of a gimmick as I did 2 years ago by any means.
And I don't know, like I know Jordan, you said you weren't a big fan of Austin Theory. Like I don't mind Austin Theory. I don't think they're doing what they could with him. Like I think he could be an even bigger heel than he is right now. It's just with that title, I don't know if it's in the way they're booking his stories, the way they're booking his title defenses, but it feels more of like just an accessory that he gets to carry around that's supposed to make him look bigger than he is. But I don't get the feeling that he's champion. And even coming out of WrestleMania, the guy beats one of, if not the biggest star in the last 20 years in pro wrestling. And coming out of Mania, I feel like it didn't elevate him at all. Like I thought if he won against Cena, I thought he would come out and his stock would be elevated in my head where I would look at him differently. And I feel like he didn't gain anything from beating John Cena at Mania.
Yeah, the U.S. title is kind of an afterthought at this point. Austin Theory has it, and he can put on some good matches. That's not why I don't like him. There's just something about him I don't like, but I agree with you 100%. Coming out of WrestleMania, beating John Cena, who I don't even think it's arguable. He is the biggest star in the last 20 years. To me, I mean, like, dude, he is their homegrown talent. Yep. That was their homegrown superstar. And it feels like he should have been, I don't know, elevated so much more after that match. And it just kind of feels like he's still just at the same spot he was before that match. Like nothing about that match I'll go back and watch or think like, man, we sure were lucky to see this. But I feel like that's the biggest problem with the U.S. title. Like, dude, international title is getting work rate every week. Like Orange Cassidy is putting out a banger every week. It's a guarantee. Like, I mean, outside the WrestleMania match before this, when was the last time you can remember Austin Theory defending that title?
Honestly, I can't. I don't remember any meaningful matches. Like, honestly, that's a question I was going to ask is when was the last time the U.S. title felt like something big to you guys? For me, it was when John Cena was doing the United States Open Challenge. That's the last time I remember being like, okay, I remember this angle. But besides that, it's like hot potato between guys.
Theory took it off of Lashley, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Is there another one in between there? Yeah, man. It's just, I feel like it didn't really do much for Bobby either. Like, I'm with you, Jordan. I think Austin Theory is fine in the ring. I just can't fucking stand looking at him. I hate his face. I think he's got too many fucking teeth in his smile. It's like look at the graphic right here. It looks like he's got 30 fucking teeth just on the top row. Like something about him.
Steve, what's that line you like to say from?
Yeah. I don't know, there's just something just I just want to hit you in your suckhole, man. It's just something about you.
Something
I don't know
about
what it
that
is.
face.
Yeah, something about that face.
I like you well enough, but man, I just want to something about you, man.
And like I can't remember when, because I wasn't, I don't think I've made it a secret to anybody. I'm not a huge Cena fan. I agree he's definitely the biggest star in the last 20 years in the business, but he's not for me. So like I didn't give a shit about his US title run, so I can't even think of who. I can't remember a time at all, like in the last 10 years, when I thought that title was relevant, really. So
I'm totally not the one to ask, because if someone just like word association, if you say the word United States Championship to me, the first person that pops in my head is Rick Rude, 1992. So
hell yeah,
that's where my brain goes.
I mean, All right, we're not going to completely shit on the U.S. title. Like the Cena KO feud was fantastic.
Oh,
The
yeah.
Cena Rusev feud at culminating at WrestleMania 31 was fantastic.
With the tank.
Yeah, dude. There's been some really memorable matches that I think people forget about, but as of right now, as of this moment, which is what we're basing this off of, which title you would take. I mean, to me, it's not even close, honestly.
Jordan, what all Atlantic or international? What name do you like better?
I'll be completely honest, I don't really like either one. I'm not a huge fan of either one. I felt like they could, if you're going to get rid of All Atlantic, which that name was what it was to me, I felt like you could have done so much more than just naming the international title. Like I think either Colton or Chad said, it reminds me too much of Intercontinental at that point. And I feel like AEW for me is like supposed to be kind of the opposite of what WWE is. Like that's why I enjoy it so much, is because it is usually the opposite. It's not all the talking and all that shit. It's just they're going in the ring and they're putting down 5-star matches weekly, and I mean that's what I like about AEW. So anytime it gets pulled close to the WWE conversation, it's kind of a miss for me.
I like that because that's why I like the All Atlantic.
Yeah.
It had all in it, which kind of ties into the All Elite.
Yep.
And then the Atlantic made me think of like mid-Atlantic territory wrestling from back in the day. So it had like a little old school flavor mixed with the AEW flavor. But then all the people had to go online and bitch about, well, it's not all talking about the fucking Atlantic Ocean. I'm like, God damn, guys, you got in Tony Khan's head. Now he's changing the title name.
I hated the title change, honestly. I loved All Atlantic.
I thought it just had a nice ring to it. I don't know. I really did like it, the original name for it.
Yeah, I did too, man. When I first heard it, I was like, huh. And then I thought about it. I was like, oh, yeah, that's pretty solid, especially having all with All Elite. I was a sucker for that. But, man, Jordan, just to backtrack a little bit, you brought up a good point. I mean, I totally forgot about the Rusev, Cena, and Rusev's run with the U.S. title. That was the last time. I loved Rusev's run with the U.S. title. So,
dude, that tank, I went back and watched that not too long ago. That entrance is so good, man, with Lana coming out and man, it was an epic entrance. You forget how big Rusev was at a certain point in that company.
Yeah.
Like he was such a good heel.
I mean, I'm a little biased because I was at that WrestleMania, but to me, that's the last really, really good WrestleMania was 31. Every match was meaningful in that show. So I know we're getting a little off track here, but yeah, it's just, I agree. The tank entrance made it feel like $1 million to me.
Yeah.
And now Miro's not used at all.
Yeah.
So.
Well, he was a best friend at one point, so that's good.
Yeah, he had that, what was it, arcade?
Yeah.
Remember the arcade match where they were destroying arcade cabinets around the ring? God damn, that was awful.
He was the best man. That's solid.
Now, I think aesthetically, too, the Internet All Atlantic, whatever you want to call it, I think it's probably one of my favorite belts that's out.
If we're talking just aesthetic, like the look of the title, I love the All Atlantic International title. I mean, that thing looks like a championship to me.
Oh, if we're just going off looks, AEW is crushing WWE on looks of titles. I feel like all of AEW's titles look superior to WWE's if you go across the board.
A little too much cartoony shit in WWE titles for me. Like, don't get me started on those tag titles. Jesus,
those are fucking terrible.
Fucking awful.
Oh
yeah, I feel like the IC titles is probably the best looking title that they have right now. But I mean, I still prefer
even that one. I hate.
I still prefer the old. I still prefer the old design that they brought back. I mean, hell, I'll take the fucking Attitude Era, the one that fucking the oval looking one that RVD had for so long. Like, I love that one too. I'll take either one of those, man. Yeah, I've got the Shinsuke Chase Elite where he's got the belt in the black and red jumpsuit. I'm just like, I just wish it was a different version of that belt. It'd be a lot cooler figure.
I'm just not a fan of, and I know every company does it and they always like update their titles, but that's one of the reasons I like the 10 pounds of gold. That's one of the reasons I liked the big gold belt is they never changed. And I feel like I get like the lineage of the title doesn't like isn't dictated by the title looking exactly the same. Like the lineage stays intact even if you change the design, but there's something about when I see Nick Aldis a couple years ago holding that 10 pounds of gold, and it's the same title that I saw Dusty holding. It's the same title that Flair held. There's something that like grounds it in wrestling tradition and wrestling history. So I hate when they do complete redesigns. I'm not a big fan of it.
It's not going away though, man. It's all for sales and merch sales and all that stuff. Like it ain't going away. It's just that's the era we live in now.
Another way to make a buck.
Yeah.
All right. Does anybody have any final thoughts before we move on?
Nope.
All right. Next topic of the evening. Do you think the WWE Draft will have a long-term positive impact? Now, Jordan, this is your topic, so I'll defer to you to go first.
Yeah, so when I heard they were doing this, I was really excited because although WWE is definitely better a year later, I definitely feel like WWE is in a better position than it was a year ago. Just because, I mean, having Triple H booking the show is definitely going to have a positive impact, right? I think they got a little bit stagnant there at about 6 months in, and it just wasn't as good. But I feel like this has been long overdue. They need to change it up on who's on what show. Like, we need some new contenders for Roman. You need some new guys on Raw to make it feel more important. Because I feel like that's the biggest thing for Raw is without having the main title on there, it just feels so much less important. I've seen some rumors about them possibly splitting the belts with this draft, which personally I think is the best thing they could do for WWE at this point. Roman is what he is, man. He's going to keep winning. So, I mean, dude, at least make Raw feel somewhat important with the title. Like right now, Raw to me just feels like, I mean, it ain't even Saturday night's main event or even Shotgun Saturday night. Like just Raw to me is just kind of an afterthought because the title's not on that show. Like Roman appears on SmackDown, not Raw. So I hope that they do the right things with this and they actually do make it into a big deal, which having Triple H book it feels like they should do the right things, but I mean, it is WWE, so you never know. I mean, maybe they'll just have Roman carry every belt they have in the company. So
I'm with you. Like, I think it could, and I hate drafts, to be honest. Like, I always hated drafts. But I do think this could be something positive, especially with Triple H behind the helm. It's just all in how they approach it. Like, I hope they use this I hope this isn't just a shakeup to get Roman, more contenders, and they really need to hammer out the women's division because I feel like the women's divisions are kind of stale on the way they're set up now. But I hope they use this as a way to do other things, like split up some tag teams. Back in the Ruthless Aggression era, when they would do a draft, it became big news. And they had the cameras in the locker rooms and you would see people flipping out because they went to a certain brand. They split up the Dudleys, which, long term, it wasn't really a great move and they went back on it, but it was something different. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if they split up Street Profits in this draft. I want to see moves like that. I want to see complete ground shaking things that could change this. I'm wondering, like, is there any shot in hell Roman goes to Raw? Or does Fox have him on lockdown for SmackDown? I mean, it kind of feels that way. I hope they don't split titles in the draft, although I think they do need it. As far as I do think they need to split these titles eventually, I hope it's not just through the draft. I feel like you want to see those titles won and lost instead of just like split them up and then have some round robin matchup to crown a winner. I don't know. It could be, as much as I hate drafts, it could be a positive.
And I'll take your sentiment with that too, because it's no secret, man. I fucking hate brand splits and drafts. I think it just sucks. But I think if I'm cautiously optimistic that this one is going to have a positive long-term effect. I'm going to say that I think it will, especially if this is a shakeup to kind of clean the slate for Triple H to completely start over and put his 100% into his creative booking.
Yeah. Like if this is him getting to essentially build his creative around, okay, I want these guys on this roster, these guys on this roster, and we're going to see where kind of what his mind is thinking. I think that's awesome. But I'm thinking back to the last few drafts they've had. Dude, they were awful because they would literally pick a couple names. And correct me if I'm wrong, didn't they just like rattle off some names like, oh, so-and-so, so-and-so, and so-and-so went to this? It wasn't a thing. Like, I want to feel like the NFL draft. That's why I go back to the ruthless aggression drafts, because it felt so big. They would draw the name, and you had the two cameras with the split screen of Raw locker room, SmackDown locker room, people wigging out. I vividly remember Undertaker getting up after being drafted. I forget where he was drafted to. I think SmackDown, and he just loses his shit, chucks a chair across the room, nearly takes off Bull Buchanan's head or whoever the fuck was sitting there. Like, it was so cool. I want to see stuff like that.
Yeah, man, I'm hoping it has a positive impact. I mean, I'm with everybody. I'm not a fan of brand splits anywhere. The last draft, Chad, you said it, like, because they didn't have a draft in 2022. 2021 was the last draft, correct?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So, and it felt fucking pointless. Like, they were just running it at the bottom of the screen or on the side of the screen, and they'd announce like 8 to 12 selections at a fucking time. And I remember being halfway through the show being like, well, it seems like Raw's got a lot more people than SmackDown does right now. Like, how are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Does it make any sense whatsoever? So, like, I don't know, man. I think I've been hoping that there would be, for the last like 5 years, I've been hoping they would reunify the brand, and they would stop having a brand split and they would reunify. I thought there's been ample opportunity, especially when Roman won both belts. I was hoping that that's where they were going to go, is they were going to unify it into one belt. But I guess you can sell more if you have one black, one blue strap, and he's going to carry both to the ring. So, you know, whatever, I fucking guess. But yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I think, especially if it's Triple H behind it, like 100%, like this is Triple H's draft. He's calling all the shots, and it is like, it has purpose. I think it'll have a long-term positive effect. But if it's just a draft for the sake of having a draft and we haven't had one in a year, then it's going to be, because I agree with you, Jordan. I think WWE's in a far better place than it was a year ago.
100%.
But I think if they're just going to do the same shit, if we're just going to have a draft for the sake of having a fucking draft, just to shake things up, and then basically we start every storyline over. Like, I worry about some things. Like, I worry about why, like, splitting the bloodline up. Like, what does that look like moving forward? Like, I don't know if, but you don't want it to, at the same time, you don't want it to appear like, oh, well, obviously these factions are safe because they're the top guys on the card. So I don't know. I'm nervous about it. And when they made the announcement of the draft, that was not the big announcement that I thought was coming. So I think I'm still a little salty over that in general. But yeah,
not to cut you off, but you made me think of something. Like, the thing that I have a problem with past drafts is it doesn't, like, okay, couples aren't going to be separated. So if Seth goes to Raw, Becky's going to Raw. You know, if this guy from this faction goes, then we know everybody in that faction is going. That's chicken shit stuff, man. Like, if you're going to do a draft and make me feel like things are really on the line.
Yeah.
The last one, didn't they do Big E? Didn't they break up
Big E?
They sent Big E to SmackDown, and then Kofi and Xavier was on Raw.
Okay.
And if they do something like that, I mean, yeah, I could see it. Well, and maybe now that I say it out loud, I think about it a little bit more. Maybe there is a little bit more storyline there than I think. Like, if you separate Jay from the rest of the bloodline, like, maybe there's a little bit more. Like, I don't know. There could be some story there. I mean, I think you said earlier, Chad, about splitting up the Street Profits. I think that's a great idea. I think that the writing's been on the wall for a while for Montez Ford to have a singles run. And I think I'm ready for it, man. I think that guy would be a great contender for either secondary title for sure. So,
well, because it seems like they're not pulling the trigger on that Street Profits turn because they don't want somebody to be the bad guy. So that would be a way to split them up without having to have this like big heel turn, you know?
right.
So going back to kind of what you guys said about like the draft being a big deal, like to me, like the draft that I always picture is Cena being the first pick in his St. Louis Spirits jersey, and everybody being like, "Holy shit, they're actually moving big people around." Or I mean, even not even as far back, like Dean Ambrose being drafted to SmackDown while he had the WWF title or WWE title, whatever. I think that was like 2016, and then he wrestled AJ for the title. Like that seemed like a big deal to me, and I feel like you guys said, the previous couple of years, it was more about like what happened off air more than what happened on air. And that's kind of why I've hoped for this, is because Triple H is bringing back more of like what happens on air. I feel like Vince was all about like Twitter impressions and stuff like that. Like,
Right.
They can do 20 picks on Twitter, and he was good with that. Like that's what he wanted out of this. I feel like that's not what Triple H wants out of this. I feel like he wants people to tune in and us to be shocked by what they do. I'll be honest, if they don't split up the Street Profits on this draft is already a waste, because Montez needs to be on his own so bad.
So bad.
That guy is a superstar. I mean, I feel like that needs to happen. But then again, you go with the couples thing. So if they split them up, that wherever Montez goes, Bianca's got to go. You would figure.
Right.
So yeah, it's kind of tricky, but I'm excited for it. I mean, I know it could just be a complete dud, but I don't know, man. I feel like my WWE heart is getting a little bit healed because of Triple H. Because man, dude, for 3 years it was just hard to watch. Like, it was really hard for me to watch this. Thunderdome era is god awful. I don't think anybody's going to argue that. I mean, AEW wasn't the greatest during that either. Having no fans just ruined wrestling.
Right.
But I feel like they could make a huge jump with this draft, honestly.
I think Triple H said something when he had made the announcement. I think there was something, I think he was kind of, I don't know, maybe not, but he said, this is really going to change the game. And I think he was referencing himself there. I don't know. I think it was more of like, this is going to be mine.
Yeah.
I think so, man. I just hope. I don't know. It's weird, though, because if you really look at the way they've handled it lately, I don't know if it was just the Mania run up, but it doesn't feel like there's this hard brand split right now. Like, people were kind of floating. Cody would pop up on SmackDown. Bloodline would come on to Raw. You know, there was a little bit of floating back and forth. So I'm always in the back of my mind, like, why even do a brand split? Like, I don't understand it. Like, and I get the whole, there's that argument of, well, so people can have stories, you know, and get more screen time. And I'm like, why couldn't that happen with the entire roster anyways? Have people that, you know, feature certain stories on certain shows, and then, but also have the ability to kind of interweave those stories into Raw and SmackDown. I never understood the brand split thing. Even when it very first happened, I didn't get it. I didn't know why they did that.
I feel like if you interweave the stories too, then that gets people to watch both shows.
Right.
If somebody doesn't like what's going on one show, then they're not going to watch, you know.
I guess it makes more sense to have a brand split when you're the only game in town and you have no competition. You're
creating your own competition. Yeah.
Correct. Which is why I always thought that was my understanding or my impression of why that they did it originally. And even though I still didn't like the idea, it's still, that made the most sense to me. And that's, I think, since AEW's come on the scene, and just like Impact's a much bigger show. It's a great time to be a wrestling fan. There's a lot of wrestling out there to watch, and I think there's more than one what I would consider a direct competitor with WWE versus, whereas, 6 years ago, that wasn't the case. So that's, I think, a big reason I've been hoping for a brand reunification, but it doesn't sound like we're getting it.
All right, fellas. Anybody have any final thoughts before we move on to the final topic?
I want to see what obviously Hunter's running the show. It feels like he's still doing his thing. So it'll be fun to see a draft not fully under Vince McMahon's thumb. It'll be fun.
Yeah, this feels like the actual start of the Triple H era to me.
Yeah.
And this is my other thing. They need to pull people up from NXT. That needs to happen.
Yep.
Because I feel like when they did it, like the last couple times they did it, it wasn't a meaningful call up. Like they need to make these things meaningful. I would be 100% on board if Braun was like one of the first 2 picks.
Yeah,
that'd be cool,
dude. You have to make it seem like these guys coming up are big, because like Ciampa and Gargano and stuff, when they got called up, like it was just kind of an afterthought. They were like the guys that got announced on Twitter. Like they need to make the NXT guys getting called up seem like a big deal, because I mean, dude, Braun is arguably your biggest future star in WWE.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like he's cooled off a lot, but dude, that's your star. Like you have to make it feel like a big deal when he does get called up, which if they don't draft him and call him up on this again, what are we doing here?
I think this heel turn for Braun is heating him up again a little bit. And I mean, if we're going to put a camera in Raw's locker room and a camera in SmackDown's locker room, it would be pretty cool to have a camera in the Performance Center with the NXT roster and see kind of that real life emotion, and maybe not even tell these people, like, you know what I mean? Like make it a shoot where you're putting a camera on these guys and they find out on live TV that they're going to the main roster. That would be a fun element of a draft, like where you're seeing their dreams come true in live.
Yeah.
I would love that. Stuff like that's what we need.
Imagine if they do the Braun draft and they announce him as Braun Steiner. Like, dude, people would go nuts.
I would lose my fucking mind.
God, dude. That's honestly like that is my hope for this draft. Like, give him the Steiner name back. I don't care what his first name is. Just make sure his last name is Steiner. Like, dude, give us that. I mean, the Steiners are back in the good graces, so to speak. I mean, Dad might have fucked that up a little bit last week or a couple weeks ago, but like we're still there.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. They got it. I was so pissed when they threw that breaker on him. I'm like, come on, dude.
Yeah. All right, guys, here we go. We're going to move on to the final topic, which is if a feud with the Elite isn't in the cards for CM Punk's return, is Chris Jericho the right feud? This is tough, man, because I feel like if CM Punk comes back, I feel like, we've said it 100 times, they have to lean into this Elite story for it to, and they're really missing the boat on it, but
yeah, that's why I had to take that off the table, because everybody wants that story. But if we can't get that story,
is this the
right one? Just a quick question up front before we dive into this is, does the Elite Punk storyline have to happen? If it does happen, does it have to happen first, or could it still work with, if it happens a feud or two down the line, or does it have to be like Punk entering into that feud?
I'm fine with it not being the first feud.
Okay.
I will say, if we're not, I've said it on I can't remember which debate it was, but I said if he comes back and there is no doing business with the Elite, then what's the fucking point of bringing him back?
Right.
Like, and I fully stand by that. Like, I don't want, if he's not like, I do not want him back if we're not going to get that payoff. It'd be the greatest storyline in wrestling history, and not history ever, but in the last 10 years for fucking sure. And it's like,
and definitely AEW's best storyline.
Definitely AEW's best storyline forever. For me, to answer this question to get started, I think Chris Jericho is a fine consolation prize if we're not going to get that first, especially because they've had some, who knows if it's a shoot or a work, but they've had heat via the internet throwing barbs at each other. So yeah, I'm all about that. Also, might not be a bad idea to have CM Punk have his first match back with somebody closer to his own age range, because he's got a pretty bad track record of getting hurt all the fucking time with his run in AEW. So, maybe this is the right move, but if we're not going, if that is off the table, I think his offer to return should be off the table 100%.
Yeah.
I feel like you just said it though, Colton. This is our consolation prize, and I feel like it's a deep consolation prize. Like you're promised a gold bar and you get a nickel. Like I don't know, man. I don't even think he needs to have a one-on-one match. Honestly, I feel like we're all gonna agree on this. The money is the Elite versus CM Punk and FTR. Like
100%.
Like, dude, if you're gonna sell out All in Wembley Stadium, like. Dude,
That's
why
it.
not do that? That's your main event. Like,
Yep.
We don't need to, like, I don't care what else is on the card at that point. Like, that is the main event for me. They can put that as the first match, the last match. They can put it on after the show. I don't give a shit. That is the main event for me.
Yep.
Like, if you're bringing CM Punk back and you're having him feud with anybody but the Elite, sorry, this is a miss. People are talking about, like, the Elite interfering in the Chris Jericho match. Nope. Just go straight to it. Like, everybody knows that it's there. Everybody wants it. Like, don't tease us with a Jericho match. I love Jericho. Jericho to me is one of the top 10 ever. Like, everything he's done in wrestling, just absolutely phenomenal. We cannot pretend that this is not here. We can't just keep kicking this down the road. WWE is the kings of doing this. Like, all right, this is tailor-made for this to happen right now. Let's just kick it a year down the road. No. Do this now, because if you truly want people to get invested in your product the way they were before, because it's no secret, dude. The AEW interest has gone down since CM Punk has been gone. I mean, there's no hiding it. If you truly want everybody back in and you want All In to be the biggest success ever, CM Punk has to be in the main event against the Elite. Like, what are we doing? Like, what are we even talking about at this point?
I'm with you. I mean, Chris Jericho to me is what Bret Hart is to the Phelps. Like, he is my guy. I love Jericho. And I think this feud could be cool. The thing that makes this feud possibly good to, like, the thing that makes this intriguing to me is Jericho with the JAS has been, Jericho likes bringing a little comedy into his stuff, but like you said, Colton, where they have had a little bit of heat and fucking Punk goes online and calls Jericho a stooge. If they're going to pull that into this feud and we get to see a more serious side of Chris Jericho again, similar to the Jericho we saw feuding with Shawn Michaels in like 2009, sign me up. I miss that Jericho, the dead serious Jericho. That would be fun to watch. But I mean, Colton, you said it best. Anything except the Elite isn't right.
Yeah.
Anything except the Elite is a consolation prize. And it could be a feud or two down the road. Say Jericho and him does their thing and they have this big angle where Punk's on the Saturday show, the Elite's on the Wednesday show, and there's this collision where one runs in. Yeah, you could do that, but imagine an episode of Dynamite where the Elite's in the ring in the main event, lights go out, or some hooded guy comes through the crowd, cracks Omega in the back of the head, unhoods himself, and it's Punk. The roof would blow off the place.
Yeah.
And we hadn't seen Punk since All Out. Like, that's the way. I feel like you have to go now. It's there for the taking. You can't, like Jordan said, you can't kick the can down the road. I mean, yeah, we're going to be there for it. Of course we are. Anytime you pull the trigger on that storyline, we are going to be there for it. But it'll never be as big as we haven't seen Punk in 7-8 months, and then he shows back up into that feud. That is the way to do it, and I don't think they have the balls to do that.
And it's unfortunate, man. Like, yeah, strike while the iron's hot. Like, why the fuck wouldn't you? And it's like, I was talking to a buddy of mine who's just like, he's the biggest AEW mark in the world. He thinks they can do no wrong, and he doesn't really care whether Punk comes back or not. I was like, we were talking about this particular situation. I'm like, I think it's the only fucking way you sell out Wembley Stadium. I don't think there's another way to do it. Also the UK is a rabid fan base, and they don't get as many shows over there. So I think it'll do well regardless. But I mean, it's simple, dude. I mean, Tony Khan, if you're listening, I'll put it on record right now. I'll pay $200 fucking for that pay-per-view if you put that match on. And I don't care about it. I'm with Jordan. I don't care what else is on the card. That's all I want to see. I will pay pretty much whatever you ask to watch that.
Could you imagine Wembley Stadium sold out, main event, Kenny Omega look in the ring, looking across at CM Punk, and then they ring the bell? Can you imagine how loud that place would be before they touched? And they're just sitting there staring at each other. Like, I mean, that's the shit we live for. That's like Hogan Rocket Mania, where the energy was just so big before they even touched. Like, you have that moment in the palm of your hand, and all you have to do is get all parties involved to do it. You have to do that. Anything else will be the wrong move.
I think that's my biggest thing is, dude, you have to try for a sellout of Wembley. So whatever that takes, you have to make it happen. And I don't know, man. I just said it. I love Chris Jericho. I don't think Chris Jericho and CM Punk is moving the needle enough to sell out Wembley. I just don't. I know CM Punk's coming back, but it's going to be before Wembley. It's not going to be at Wembley. Like, They basically already said he's coming back at the Chicago show in June. Like, I mean, that's basically confirmed already. So I guess Wembley would sell out if it was confirmed that that's when CM Punk was coming back. But the fact that we already know it's before that, dude, Jericho and CM Punk is not selling out Wembley Stadium. I'm sorry, it's not.
No.
CM Punk versus the Elite is selling out Wembley Stadium and any other stadium in the world. Like, dude, that's what we all want to see. And I just feel like if this is what they're going to do, it's just another example of them teasing the fans with what we want as opposed to what we get. Like, I don't know, man. I just feel like this would
that though.
Tony knows. I don't think it's Tony. I honestly don't. I don't think the Elite want to work with the guy. I think they've turned their nose up, and I love the Elite. I'm not shitting on them saying they don't want to do business. I'm just saying, like, whatever happened in that locker room, that fight, I just feel like they don't want to do it.
And sorry, Jordan.
No, go ahead.
If that's the case, like, because I love the Elite too, but if that's the fucking case, I've lost a lot of respect for those guys. Because, like, grow up, you fucking babies. This is a business. Like, do business. Like, give the fans what they want. It has been offered up to you on a silver platter to be the best storyline ever. Like, I don't. Yeah, I mean, I understand. I wasn't there. None of us were there. Nobody will really know ever what happened or what was said. And I understand people have a right to feel the way they need to do, but, like, you're fucking professionals, man. And if you really love this business to the fucking level that you claim you do, you would do anything to have a payoff like this.
That's why I feel like adding FTR to this match is the only way to do it, because the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega have already went on record about how much they respect those two guys. So I feel like if you get all six of them in the ring together, that's the best way to do it. We are not getting CM Punk versus Kenny Omega one-on-one. There's just no way. And I get it, man. I get it. The shit that happened, like you said, we'll never know what happened, but I just feel like those wounds are too deep. So you have to open it with a 3-on-3 match. And to me, dude, that match, I don't know if it gets big. I know CM Punk and Kenny Omega is going to be the biggest match you can book, but I don't know, man. I'm more opposed to the. I think I like the 3-on-3 match better, honestly.
I do too.
I love FTR, and say whatever you want about CM Punk. He definitely moves the needle, but dude, FTR and Young Bucks alone is enough for me to buy.
I know. Sure.
You add in Omega and Punk with it.
Oh man, sign me up.
That's how you sell tickets, dude. Like, Tony Khan is a fan before he's a booker. Like, there's no question about it. We've seen the way AEW has been ran over the past 2 years. Like, there's a reason the way it is, because, like, he does shit that he wants to see. He doesn't do shit that's, like, necessarily the best for business. He does what he wants to see, and that's kind of why I relate to that guy so much. Like, he is just like us. Like, we're all sitting here like, oh man, could you imagine if we got so and so versus so and so? And then he just fucking does it. He don't give a shit. He doesn't even need a weak build. He doesn't give a shit. He's gonna put it on if that's what he wants to see.
And the one thing, like, I know we'll never know what happened in that locker room, and it might be some, like, dastardly shit that's like, I can't believe that happened. But there's a big part of me maybe it's just me being an asshole, but I'm like, dude, you got in a fist fight. Get the fuck over it. Get over it. You're in a testosterone driven combat sports entertainment type of business. Things will get physical. So he mouthed off. So there was a big fight. Get over it. Everyone.
That's over, man.
It's over. Let's do business. Like, I don't understand the
This shit happened all the time back in the day when everybody was popping fucking perks and drinking 6 beers a day, you know? like it just doesn't happen anymore because everybody plays video games and doesn't party. Like, don't be a baby. Like,
you have a chance to sell out Wembley fucking Stadium on your first show over there.
Yeah.
Like you said, Jordan, like that's not going to be like, obviously he's coming back before that, but like, I'm with you. I think the 3-on-3 story is way better in my opinion. And that gives you all this time to build that. Like, so you have him come back and then you have all this time. I don't know when the Wembley show is. I'll go. When is have they
August
set a date for it? Okay. August. So
27th.
it's not too far off from the June show. So yeah, you bring him back in June and you build the heat between obviously it doesn't need much heating back up. As soon as he shows up, the heat's going to be there, but like you can definitely build it. There's a lot of shots to be traded once FTR gets involved that haven't been yet. And just turning, debatably making FTR heels again is a very cool concept to me. Yeah. I can't. I hope I'll be so fucking disappointed if that's not the way it works out.
Well, when he comes back, it's obviously going to be the elephant in the room. How do you get around that?
Exactly. Fans are just going to want, they're going to chant. I'm sure he's going to be in cities where they're chanting the Elite. The Elite's going to be in Chicago. They're going to be chanting CM Punk. Like it's going to take over your show. You have
to address it. It has to be addressed. And I'm scared that everything that's going on, that's being said between Jericho and Punk in the news right now is all a work. And that's why they're building up that feud, is because that's what it's going to be.
That's what I was going to ask you guys is do you think the fact that there's quote unquote real life heat between Punk and Jericho, do you think that's Tony's way of being like, well, let's give them a little work shoot type of storytelling to satiate the Elite Punk storyline?
Maybe, but just give it to us afterwards. Obviously he's not going to fucking retire afterwards. Like you got plenty of time to do stuff with him after this payoff. Like I'm here for it all day after that. I don't want it to start. It's going to cool. Like you said, Jordan, it's kicking the can down the road. It's going to cool it off and it doesn't need any more cooling off than it's already had.
Yeah.
So two more things about this. The only thing that I don't like about this is if they do Elite versus CM Punk and FTR, it literally makes MJF defending the title against whoever he defends it against completely meaningless. I don't think that there's anything they can do to make that match meaningful. To keep CM Punk the fuck away from the title. Leave him away from the title. If we run that back again, if that's what that ends up happening, is CM Punk is the person to take the belt off MJF or whoever's the title, I fucking hate that. CM Punk should never get another title shot.
Honestly, they're in a good spot though if they keep him away from the title, because then you've got a guy who doesn't need the title, who it's built-in marquee. That's a built-in marquee match that you don't have to put a title on, and then you have your world title picture feud, whatever's going on there. I think it helps you.
That's the thing about Jericho not being in the title picture.
Right.
Like, dude, he is a legitimate wrestler who has won multiple belts, and he doesn't need the title to make him feel big. He is big.
Right.
And here's another thing too. Booking I'm interested to see how they're going to book this show, because Jordan, you brought up MJF defending the title. We have All Out the next week.
Yeah. Well, the rumor is that Wembley is going to be supposedly Discovery Plus merged with HBO Max, and I think it's called the Max now.
Yeah.
And the rumor is that AEW is going onto that platform, and that this is going to be the big marquee Max show to get everyone to sign up for All Elite Wrestling through Max. Like, you'll only be able to watch it on there. So that's what I've been hearing. And then there's no way in hell this is a pay-per-view and then a week later you're paying for another pay-per-view. This is going to be on some sort of some sort of platform you have to sign up for.
I don't love the back-to-back weeks of pay-per-views, honestly. I do not love it. Because, dude, the week after Wembley is going to feel so meaningless. Dude, Wembley, like, people have been, like, clamoring for a Wembley show for how long? Like, I don't care where they run the next weekend. It's not going to feel as meaningful. Right. There's no way. No, you're going from Wembley Stadium to the United Center, because I think All Out's at the United Center this year.
Yep.
So don't love it,
but it'll be interesting to see how they book storyline. But like, how do you book? How do you book the stories leading out of Wembley into All Out? That's going to be very.
You've got a fucking week, man.
Yeah, maybe leave MJF off the Wembley show and have MJF defend the belt in the main event of All Out.
That's what I was thinking. There's no, especially if you go the route of Punk FTR versus the Elite, there's no reason. There's no problem with leaving MJF off that card. I don't see it. I don't see an issue with it whatsoever. Better than him having a fucking throwaway match that they have to sandwich in somewhere.
I know this is not the topic, but who do you guys honestly think MJF should wrestle at All In or All Out?
It depends on where they go with this pillar storyline. So, like, if they're gonna have a fucking fatal 4-way at the next show, like where it's all 4 of them, which I don't hate, then I have no idea. But if they're gonna continue to kind of space things out and he takes these guys on one at a time, I think you can do that, and you can book your next couple of pay-per-views. But I don't know, man. I'm not sure.
If it was me, I would do Double or Nothing fatal 4-way, all 4 pillars, title on the line. I think that's the good story. Don't pick one of the pillars, do a fatal 4-way. They've never done a fatal 4-way before for the world title, and it's a way for MJF to sneak out a win, get the title, and not really hurt any of the other guys. And then for All In or All Out, I think you do Adam Cole.
Yeah, that's the money for me. Adam Cole taking the belt off MJF is the money for me, honestly. I know everybody gives him shit about being short, dude. Adam Cole is so fucking over right now. I think he's more over than he's ever been at this point, honestly. Like, him not being there, like they say, absence makes the heart grow stronger or fonder, whatever you want to call it. Dude, Adam Cole is over. I mean, he is arguably the most over wrestler they have in AEW right now.
And it's fitting too, because he made his AEW debut at All Out 2 years ago. Yep. So for him to like win the title at the place he debuted at in the same city 2 years to the day, I think it would be kind of story poetic.
That's your crowd pop too. Adam Cole winning the belt is your crowd pop. Like, and Tony, like we said, Tony Khan's a fan. Like, that's what he waits for, and that's your crowd pop for that show. And I think Tony's a big fan of Adam Cole. Like, you can see in the way he loves Britt Baker, the way he's pushed them on that all access show. Like, I feel like all of this is orchestrated to turn Adam Cole into a super baby face to be the next guy for MJF.
I was just thinking, if they do want to have an MJF match at Wembley and they want to throw him up against somebody, a cool opponent that we know is not going to win, that doesn't need necessarily a ton of story build, that would still be a cool match to see, would be Malachi Black versus MJF.
Oh God, dude, I don't want him getting a meaningless title match though.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Like, when he gets a title match, I want it to mean something.
He better, when he gets a title match, you better win. Like, that would break my fucking heart.
I'd love to see him in a world title feud, man. Oh God, I've been waiting for that shit.
I would settle for any of those 3 in House of Black in a world title feud, honestly.
Same.
I'm fine with any of those 3 winning the world title.
Yeah, me too.
All right, fellas. Anybody have any final thoughts before we wrap up for the evening?
It's going to be a hell of a summer in all elite wrestling, man.
Yes, sir.
A hell of a summer.
It's going to be a hell of a summer in all of wrestling.
Yeah, it's true. SummerSlam, ton of stuff.
Yeah, we got the draft for WWE coming up here, and I mean, all elites got everything going for it right now. So,
well, a lot of big things. I mean, you got the draft, you got Double or Nothing, All In, All Out, SummerSlam, a lot of good things. Forbidden Door.
Oh,
forgot
fuck, I
that.
forgot all about Forbidden Door.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
Good times, man. Well, cool, Jordan. Tell everybody where they can find you.
So the main feed you can find me on is the Chick Foley feed, Chick Foley on Instagram. I have a Instagram if you want to follow the Fig God. I'm a huge action figure collector, so I'm always out hunting for action figures. So yeah, I mean, thanks again for having me on, and I love talking to you guys. It's fun, dude. I love talking about wrestling, and you guys are
Same, dude.
so
Yeah,
knowledgeable. I just love being on here. So
Yeah, we love having you on. Love all the Chick Foley fam. We just had Seth on. Always a good time. Got to get Sheena back on if she can get away
Yeah.
from the farm for a minute. So
good luck.
All right, guys, that is going to wrap us up for this edition of the Turnbuckle Debate. Make sure you guys are following the turnbuckletavern.com for all of your tavern needs. Colton, it's your spot right now, man. Get your shit in.
You can follow me on Instagram at mullet.mania and catch me and Ace on YouTube at 10:10 on Thursdays for Honor Society recap and everything ROH Weekly TV. And always like and subscribe, turnbuckletavern.com.
Man, that was professional.
yeah, he nailed it.
Beautiful.
Awesome. Court is dismissed.